Do you ever feel like your social anxiety just keeps getting worse no matter what you try? I know that pain. I spent over 20 years battling it, finally overcoming it, and then eventually earning my psychology degree to better understand it so I can help others through it. Throughout my entire journey, I realized that there are 5 detrimental mistakes almost everyone with social anxiety makes that slowly destroys their confidence and makes their anxiety so much worse. So in this video, I'm going to break down what those 5 detrimental mistakes are and how to fix them so you can finally relax and enjoy being around people. Starting with mistake number 1. For as long as I can remember, in school, at work, most of the times in public, I would do everything possible to stay out of conversations. Not because I dislike people, but because my anxiety was so strong that avoiding people just felt easier. I would purposely walk in a way that made me look smaller, hoping that people would ignore me. I avoided eye contact and kept my eyes glued to the floor, and a huge sense of relief would wash over me whenever I successfully avoided a conversation or people. However, when I was dragged into one, my anxiety would skyrocket and I'd become extremely awkward during the interaction. Every single interaction became a nightmare for me to navigate. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but my social anxiety just kept getting worse because I was avoiding people. So the first social mistake that most of us make is avoiding social situations. You cannot get rid of your social anxiety by avoiding people. Doing this will only train your brain to think that all social situations are dangerous. And in an effort to reinforce what you trained it, it'll deploy anxiety to signal to you that something is going wrong. But how do you stop avoiding people without feeling overwhelmed? The next time you're in a social situation and feel yourself reverting back into your old shell, I want you to pause and just commit to one small action. This can be as small as making eye contact with someone when you pass by them and giving them a smile. Once you do this a few times, you can move up to saying hello. And then eventually you can compliment the other person. And before you know it, you're in a full blown conversation. And when you start there and gradually elevate your actions, you'll take notice that your anxiety will slowly start to fade because now you're training your brain not to fear social situations, but to show up in them with confidence instead. But if you step in a conversation, you still might find your thoughts spinning out of control. And that leads us straight into social mistake number 2. And once you understand it, you'll stop falling into that overthinking loop. Oftentimes at work or even in my own friend group, I find myself standing in large groups of people with everyone talking except me. I can overhear the chatter of a bunch of different conversations, but I would always hesitate to step in and join them. Sometimes I'd hear people talk about topics that I was, actually pretty interested in, like Dragon Ball or something else fun. My ears would perk up and I'd look over and see some people chatting. And for a second, I'd want to walk over and I'd want to join them. But then my mind would start racing. I can't. They'll think I'm weird. If I join them, it's going to be awkward. I'm only going to stutter in front of them and embarrass myself again. I start to feel the weight of my anxiety wash over me, and my heart would start to race, and my chest would tighten, and I'd freeze. And I tell myself, maybe next time. But deep down, I knew I was just avoiding it again. Those moments stuck out to me because I realized that before I even tried, my mind had already imagined the worst case scenario. And that brings me to social mistake number 2. Stop assuming the worst. Most of the time, our overthinking will cause us to hyper focus on the worst possible outcome because we're trying to protect ourselves from possible rejections or getting hurt. But all it does is fuel our anxiety even more. So instead, start making this simple shift. Begin to consider the other side of the situation. You can make that shift by asking an even simpler question. what if? What if everything turns out better than expected? What if I don't embarrass myself? What if my negative thoughts are wrong? I recently had a client do this, and he said it eliminated all his nerves and his anxiety. What would you say that your biggest breakthrough was?
The first week, it was both catching those negative thoughts and also learning to catch and to realize where your brain is going in social situations. The beginning of, now that you've recognized the negative thoughts, what if we just flip the script? Oh, well, if I'm not going to do it because I'm just going to mess it up. Instead, being like, well, what if it works out really well, was probably the biggest takeaway I had.
As you can see, that one simple question can shift your focus towards the positive and boost your confidence before you even step into the situation. And even when you challenge your negative thoughts and try to see the other side, there's still one thing that can completely destroy your social confidence if you're not careful. In Dragon Ball Z, we can see this mistake play out when Gohan was in the final beam struggle against Cell. He kept beating himself up in his head for not being enough. And a lot of us do the exact same thing. Whenever we realize we made a mistake or said something that didn't come out the way we intended or told a joke that didn't land how we wanted, we often turn on ourselves immediately. And after the moment passes, we leave the interaction and start replaying the embarrassing situation over and over and over again in our minds, becoming hypercritical of ourselves. We say things like, I can't believe I said that. I'm so dumb. And they probably hate me now. And I just can't do anything right. But this causes us to avoid those people the next time we see them, or it makes our anxiety skyrocket. And the truth is, most people do this without even realizing it. If any of this sounds familiar, then you're making the mistake of being way too harsh on yourself. That's why you have to practice self-compassion. The next time you catch yourself spiraling, pause and ask, what would I say to a friend in this situation? Then tell yourself, it's okay. This mistake isn't the end of the world, and being mean to myself isn't helping at all. Self-compassion is the key thing that you must remember when you're working to overcome social anxiety. Being harsh on yourself is like laying out spikes underneath your own feet, and it makes every mistake feel 10 times more painful than it actually is, and increases our anxiety for next time. This happens because your brain is trying to protect you from making the same mistakes in the future, but in fact, it's not actually helping. It's making it harder for you when you do want to step into new social situations. If you're finding this helpful so far, then check out the social confidence cheat sheet that I created. It gives you even more practical tools that make it easier to take control of your social anxiety and feel confident in any situation. You can grab it for free using the top link in the description. Now, this brings me to social mistake number 4, which leaves you flustered and awkward during every conversation. Whenever I knew I had to interact with someone, I would start planning the entire conversation in my head before it even happened. I'd spend hours, like actual hours, thinking about how it might play out, what I might say, how I'd say it, how they react, and what I'd say back. And the closer the interaction got, the more the anticipation built. And by the time I actually got into the conversation, I was already anxious. And the moment the person said something that I didn't expect, something that I didn't plan for, I'd immediately get flustered and shut down. But eventually I realized that all this planning was taking me out of the present moment. I wasn't actually connecting with people. I was stuck in my own head, focused on myself instead of them. So social mistake number 4 is planning conversations. I genuinely thought I was helping myself by scripting things out, but all I was doing was make the interaction more awkward, more forced, and more anxiety filled. Because here's the truth. When you're planning, you can't be focused. You can't be present. And confidence only shows up when you show up. So instead of trying to think your way into the perfect moment, shift your focus to the person right in front of you. Listen to what they're saying. Respond naturally and let the conversation unfold the way it's supposed to. Confidence doesn't come from saying the perfect line. Confidence comes from being present, not perfect. Now, this leads me to the next social mistake that causes you to be completely overwhelmed before every conversation. How many times do you overthink your way into social anxiety? If you're anything like me, there'll be many times where I'd be in a room full of people and be completely overwhelmed, and my thoughts would start flying in every single direction. What should I say? Do I look nervous? What if I say something stupid? My chest would start to tighten, my palms would sweat, and before the conversation even started, I'd already be spiraling in my head. It felt like my brain was moving faster than I can keep up with. And no matter how hard I tried to calm down, I simply couldn't. For a while, I thought that's just how it always had to be. That social anxiety was just something I had to live with forever. This brings me to social mistake number 5. Your mind is moving way too fast. You jump ahead. You predict the worst. And you imagine every outcome before anything even happens. Your thoughts outrun the moment, and your body reacts as if the danger is real. You have to slow your mind down long enough to allow your body to settle. The grounding technique, box breathing, and journaling are some of the most powerful tools that you can use to calm your mind and reconnect with the present moment. My personal favorite one is the grounding technique, where you pause, take a deep breath, and notice 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can feel, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. Each time you practice the grounding technique or mindfulness, you show yourself showing up a little bit more confidently and calmly. The anxious thoughts still might be there, but they won't control you anymore. But when you train your brain to be more grounded in what's happening right now, your thoughts stop running the show. And that's when you can finally start to show up and be in control again. And to make it even easier, I put together a free social confidence cheat sheet. It gives you a simple step-by-step framework that you can follow so you can feel more comfortable in any social situation. You can grab it using the link below. Now, identifying and dealing with these 5 social mistakes will help you show up more confidently in any social situations. However, there are an additional 20 lessons that no one talks about that can help you avoid even making more mistakes. So click the video on your screen now to learn how to avoid making your social anxiety worse.